Good evening. On behalf of the Veterans for Peace and the assembled artists, it's my honor to welcome you here tonight. That was our equal opportunity invocation. Our formal message of inclusion is graven on a big cement tablet that's in Scott Camille's garage right now. And it goes like this: we recognize an eternal nameless something or other, though we might call it by different names. Theists call it God, atheists call it consciousness, and agnostics get a lot of pleasure just wallowing in the mystery. We're hoping to invoke this whatever tonight, and Zen Buddhists won't call it anything, but they recognize its suchness if whacked up the side of the head by the sound of one hand slapping. Native Americans call it the Great Spirit. Cowboys sense it under the prairie stars, but if pressed, they'll say they don't rightly know. Pantheists call it everything, and nihilists say it's nothing, especially during election years. Philosophy calls it reality, science calls it principle. Jedi call it the Force, while the Empire stands knee-deep in steaming piles of lucre and worships the god Mammon. That might have been a little strong. We'll issue a press release to tell you what I really meant to say tomorrow or the next day. I misspoke myself. Members of the true body of Beetledom still call it love, and it's a coincidence because Judaism, Islam, and Christianity all worship the one God who is love when they're not busy killing and torturing each other. The views expressed tonight obviously do not necessarily reflect those of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and I wouldn't be surprised that the views of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship do not necessarily reflect those of the Veterans for Peace. The reason I think this is that one of the vets, obviously damaged by religion as a child, called me and asked me to do a religious disclaimer because we're standing in front of a bunch of symbols. And so I think this would be a good time to bring up this subject. There, in every religion, is an esoteric branch and an exoteric branch. The esoteric branch, for the few, take the symbols of the religion and use it as inner tools for transformation. Whereas the exoteric branch, for the many, actually worships the symbols and then starts killing other people because they have better symbols. And we think it has something to do with testosterone poisoning in all male clergy, but it hasn't really been proven one way or another yet. But we're fairly sure that Jesus and Buddha and Moses and Mohammed would slap their foreheads and take their own names in vain to see what's being done in their name. And this also has to do with the fact that during this time of year, we draw the distinction between the babe in the manger, the Prince of Peace, and his so-called follower in the White House, swaddled in what's the word for it? How about opulence? Swaddled in opulence, planning carnage. So that has nothing to do with Jesus. It's not his fault. We're just getting that out there right now. Okay. I can see you agree. Okay. Some people have worried that this hall will lack the intimacy of the Thomas Center, who were our gracious hosts for 20 years. This is our 21st year, and we are so grateful that the Unitarian Universalists have invited us into their home. They are the equal opportunity symbolists, and it's obvious that the milk of human kindness runs through their veins with a richness almost approaching clotted cream to let the ragamuffin crew of the Veterans for Peace be in here. So we are grateful. So the intimacy problem has been suggested to foster a sense of intimacy if we would all remove maybe 1 or 2 articles of clothing, that might do something. Okay, Pearson, I tried, it didn't work. The Veterans for Peace, we feel like we have a responsibility to comment on U.S. foreign policy, having served it at one point, at the point of implementation. So we'll consider the Commander-in-Chief and his war for a moment. And the only reason we're taking on this bummer subject is because we owe it to our brothers and sisters. The total loss of life among Iraqis since 2003 is 1.2 million. This does not even address the 4,000 of our own people or the literally uncounted wounded, maimed, and shattered people and their ruined families. And the latest thing is the Army has taken to booting out as unsuitables returning soldiers who look like they're going to have extensive problems. So next time you see a support the troops thing on the back of a station wagon, you might go knock on their window. When Bush and Rumney invaded Iraq on a lie with too few troops, much to the dismay of the generals who were professionals, they failed to secure the vast ammo dumps that they found there. And so most of the carnage since then has been the result of that era, along, of course, with throwing the Iraqi army out of work. If they didn't still have their weapons, it's okay. We shipped mega tonnage of weapons over there and then lost 90% of them. Lost 90%. So the administration has cleverly created an enemy, armed it, tortured them, and mocked Islam. And it's hard to believe America would be so stupid as to elect this guy. Oh wait, we didn't. Well,